So we are outside enjoying the nice weather, and I'm going to show you how to do a provisional cast on with a crochet hook and your 9-inch circular. You can do it on your longer like 32-inch circular if you like, but this is going to be the cast on method for my 2 heels and a toe sock method. So let's get into it. So we have a crochet hook. This is a G 4.0 millimeter and some scrap yarn that I'm going to use for my provisional. So I am not a crochet queen by any shape of the imagination. So make yourself a little slip knot. I twist it like this and then pull through that loop. And there's my loop. Put the hook in, tighten that up, and then get to chaining a few stitches because we don't want to go straight into casting on the needle quite yet. We're going to chain some, so I'm just going to chain a couple, maybe 4 or 5 or so. That way I've got a little bit of room on there, right? So this is where it can get a little bit fiddly, especially on the 9-inch. If you prefer, like I said, you could do it on the longer one because the straight bit of the needle is much longer. So we want to have our working yarn behind our 9-inch circular needle, because what we're going to do is we're going to grab this yarn with our hook and then pull it through our chain. And then, as you'll see, we have 1 stitch on here, and we're going to do that for the amount of times that the pattern calls for your cast on size. And there's a small, a medium, and a large. What happens is that we're able to move straight into stockinette stitch, and then later we're going to pick up these stitches and do our ribbing later on. But really the pattern's nice because if you're like me and you want to get straight into some like mindless knitting, that's what we're doing. So once you get a few on there, you can really start getting into the groove. And I try not to death grip this little needle too much. I think that's what can kind of throw people off with the small 9-inch circular. Obviously like I said, the 32 is a little bit easier because it's got that long silver needle like barrel or circumference to hold on to, versus the 9-inch only has, you know, a few inches or so. And I'm just continuing to keep that working yarn in the back, scoop over, pull through the hoop, and then I bring that yarn to the back, and I just keep going. So I am going to cast on a bunch of these stitches, and then I'll be right back to show you how we're going to join our actual working yarn, like our main color body yarn for the stockinette. I'll show you how we start working those stitches so we can start knitting the leg of our sock. So stay tuned. Let's jump to that part. Okay, so we're back and we have all our stitches provisionally casted on. We're going to get ready to knit across with our main color. This is my main color. This is from a Christmas Disney collection, I think, from when Nitty Natty one year did like a make-along, like a Sockmas thing. And then this is from Ruby and Rose Yarn Co., I believe. Oh, look at that yarn barf. Nasty. Anyway, so let's quickly just unpick some of this bad boy. Don't worry about my little yarn barfy throw up in a minute. So here is also a good point to note. So when I finished casting on, I just chained a bunch, and I put a little tiny knot. It's kind of hard to see on this end because that's the end I'm going to unravel when it's time to pick up these stitches later in my pattern. So, and also, this is also a good point. You know, if you decided, you know, casting on the 9-inch was super fiddly, you could have done your provisional cast on the longer, on your longer 32, and then when you went to knit these stitches, you could have used your 9-inch and picked those stitches up and then worked in the round, you know. So if you don't like working with the 9-inch, don't mind it. Do the longer needle, right? Don't do something that irritates you to no end. It's kind of windy here, so we're going to be working in the real weather, guys. So I try to make sure that my chain, like my crochet chain, is on the inside of my loop, but I'm not going to worry about it too much for right now, because right now I just need to knit my stitches that are on my needle. So I'm going to put my needle in my loop, as you do, and then join my main color and literally just knit into our stitches. And then once all of these stitches are on there, we're going to be able to start working in the round. So if you get to this point, just go through to a nice simple knit stitch and just knit all the way around. And once we join in the round and have our little stitch marker, I mean, we're gonna be flying. In the pattern, it does call for 2 stitch markers at this point, because you can mark half of your stitches on your sock. That way, when we get to the heel flap area, you can differentiate your front stitches and your back stitches, just to kind of keep organized. You don't have to. I personally like to, because it just takes the counting out of it, and I like knitting vanilla socks as my mindless chill knit. You know, I don't want to be like, oh, how many stitches do I need to go in before I start doing this flap? No, I just knit to the marker and I'm like, okay, cool, it's time to work my heel flap. So I'm gonna continue knitting in the round, and then I will be back to show you how you join, and then you're off and away. You can start knitting the leg of your sock. Super exciting. Cool. Okie dokie. So we have knit all of our live provisional stitches, and we're ready to start working in the round. I like to, before I join in the round, just kind of give my stitches a quick count and make sure that I truly have the amount that I need that's called for in pattern. And let me turn this around. Haha, got the wrong end. So this is where I started, and this is where my working yarn is. I'm going to get my little stitch marker just so I can keep track of everything. Pop that little bad boy on, and away we go. You can also, at this point, start weaving in ends, like your tail ends, if you like. I like to knit the first 2 stitches, and the way I weave my ends is kind of like how you catch floats, like if you're doing color work. So I put the little tail from my main color in my left hand, and I place my needle in, and I bring this strand over my needles, scoop it around, and then knit, and then leave that working yarn, like the tail of that little working yarn, back here. Knit again, and you're gonna start to like trap it, like zigzag it and trap it. And I just do that for a couple of stitches, and then that way I know that everything is secure while I'm working in the round. So same thing, I put my needle in, bring that little tail over the needle, knit, and then you're away. You know, just do that a couple of times. Or if you want to weave your ends in, excuse me, tongue tied at the end, do it that way. It really doesn't matter. And there you have it, folks. You are all set up for, you know, getting some nice couch TV reading, mindless knitting going. It's funny, so my first couple of rounds I like to knit English style, like where I throw, because I don't know, I just feel like I want everything to be really secure. I don't know why. And then once I get a couple of rows in and it's not super close to my provisional, I'll start switching to English, and I'll stop picking. So, you know, live your bliss, do whatever you like. That's just a couple of the things that I like to do. But yeah, once you get to this portion, like, you're ready to go. And I thought I'd just make a little note. See how I pulled that and there's like this little stretch of string here where it's like a little bit of a gap? Don't worry about that. Let me work around to that bad boy. That will close up as time goes. Plus you're gonna pick up these stitches later for ribbing. if you're worried about it, that it's going to have a gap, then you can just pick up a couple of extra stitches, you know, make your cuff ever so slightly bigger, or you can pick up a strand and decrease a couple of stitches on either side to tighten it up. It really depends on your preference on your cuff, if you like it really, really snug, or do you like it a little bit more looser. So that's the great thing about making your own clothes. You can customize them and truly do whatever the hell you want. So let me get over to there real quick, though. I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, why does my thing look gappy? Don't worry about it. That's a big thing I've learned recently. Don't worry about it. This is fun. And it's cool that you can make your own clothes, and it's relaxing and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm so over wanting to make things look perfect. Like, if I make a little mistake in a pattern repeat when I'm doing some of my own like little personal whips, I don't care. Because you know what? Nobody's gonna know. How are they gonna know? They don't. They really, really don't. So don't stress about it. So yeah, just gonna keep knitting around, and as you can see, that's gonna tighten up just fine. Like, don't stress about having this little gap right here. So if you guys have any questions and you need any more, you know, guidance, tips, help, anything like that, don't hesitate to leave a comment. You know, if you purchase my pattern, I'm gonna put my work email on there, and then that way you can also email me and get support that way as well. All right, guys. Well, I hope this has helped you, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Happy knitting!